This is Andy Perot for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and I'm delighted to be joined by the WBA Super World Super Middleweight Champion, the Ring Magazine title holder, and the WBC Diamond title holder. I think I've got everything there, Callum. Callum Smith, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Not too bad. How about yourself?
Well, good, thank you. Obviously, it's good to hear you doing well. And once again, as I've said to everybody, I appreciate you hanging around today. I know it's about a month away and you've got all the media coming down there trying to catch up with you all. But how are you feeling now ahead of November 23rd?
I'm feeling good. Camp's going well so far. I feel everything's kind of clicking. We're doing a lot of technical work with Joe, and we feel we've got good shots that we feel will work on the night. But camp's going well. The gym's busy. There's a lot of other fighters with fights coming up, and training alongside each other. I always feel brings out a little bit more of myself, and this camp's going that way.
I spoke to your brother Stephen earlier and asked him how much better do you feel that Callum can get when you consider it yourself. I don't know what your plans are. I don't know if I've spoken to you about it previously, but Joe said that in his mind he sees you kind of retiring within a couple of years because you've achieved a lot of what you wanted to. What more can you give with regards to your own abilities and your talents? How much better do you feel you can be?
A lot, to be honest with you. I don't believe people have seen the best of me just yet, and I believe I've achieved a lot without having to kind of do a lot. All the fights that should have been tough fights for me, I've always kind of got rid of them early. So I believe I've only just kind of scratched the surface, but I have achieved a lot, and I want to fight, big fights that motivate me, and then I'll say achieve as much as I can before I am done. But I always thought becoming world champion was the very top, and when I achieved it, I thought it was a big box ticked. I wasn't fully satisfied. I knew there was more in me, and I knew I could achieve more. So that's why I say I motivate myself every day to go on and push. And I believe 2020 will be a year where I can unify and fight some of the biggest names.
I mean, it is refreshing to hear you effectively just admitting that obviously you've achieved a lot and you've done what you wanted to as of yet, but you haven't felt that you've had the right opponents maybe to get the best out of your abilities, and to do that you'd need the other world title holders and the other bigger names in the division. With that in mind, how frustrating a period has it been since you collected that world title? You was named number 1 in the division, the Ring Magazine title. How frustrating has it been that the fights just haven't been made for you as of yet?
Yeah, it is frustrating because I think every fighter just wants to fight the best all the time, but being in boxing and around boxing a long time, you kind of know it's not as straightforward as you'd like. But I've got a good team around me, and I believe I'm in the best place to get the biggest fights. And obviously my monthly challenger, John Ryder, he's a good fighter, a fighter I'm not looking past, but I'm confident I'll win, and I win and push on. And 2020, I believe, is a year where I will unify the division, and I know I will cement my place as the number 1 in the division.
Talk to me about the Ryder fight and what exactly are you expecting from John. John, as everybody said, he's been on a really good run of recent to get himself into this position, but what do you make of the fight and how do you kind of see it playing out?
I think it's a good fight. It's a better fight than people are making it out to be. He's monthly challenger, and he's earned that right. He's had a few good wins in fights that he weren't supposed to win, so he's been in this position before, and he's managed to raise his game, and it's the biggest opportunity of his career. So I've got to expect the best version of him, but I believe the best version of me beats any version of him, and as long as I concentrate on me and do what I'm good at and make sure my camp goes to plan and I get the tactics right, then I believe I beat anyone in the world, especially John Ryder.
I mean, when the fight was announced, or before the fight was announced, did you kind of always feel that this would be your second defence, or did you actually believe maybe a different fight, maybe Unification bout would have been made?
Yeah, possibly, but I say I had no idea when the Manti was going to be called, and the minute it was called, it was, you probably could try and worm your way out of it and put it off for another fight, but why you're going to have to fight him at some point, so now makes more sense than ever. And I say he's a good fighter, but a fighter I believe I beat, and it's a good choice of opponent. He's on good form, but it's a chance for me to defend my world titles back in Liverpool, and I'm planning on a big performance, and I believe I'll beat whoever's in the opposite corner.
You mentioned at the beginning of this interview you don't quite feel that you've been able to show the best of Callum Smith yet. With that in mind, do you feel that John Ryder can bring out the best, or do you think that, not saying it will happen, but there might be the slight risk that you can't get yourself up for the fight because I know you've wanted bigger fights for such a long time now?
Yeah, listen, a lot of people keep mentioning this, and obviously when you got your Canelos and Golovkins getting mentioned, and then obviously when you get a man with John Ryder, but every fight I've ever had since my debut has always been a must-win for me. I set the bar really high when I turned professional, and any loss along the way would have derailed all those plans. So every fight a must-win, and now more so than ever. They're speaking of massive fight in 2020, a potential Anfield fight, and all that disappears if I slip up against John Ryder. So I worked very hard to become a world champion, and I had to wait a long time to achieve it. I don't plan on giving it up just yet. So John Ryder, as much as people may disagree, he's got my full attention, 100% attention. And if you come and watch me training camp, I'm training to win, I'm training to do a destructive job. So I say there's no complacency on my side. I'm in a very good place, fully focused and fully determined to successfully defend my belt.
I mean, not to look past obviously John, but with regards to the other world champions, Billy Joe, Caleb Plant and David Benavidez, who do you feel would present you with the most difficult challenge?
I don't know, it's hard. I've been asked this before because they're all good fighters and they're all very, very different stylistically. Like if Plant was to fight Benavidez, it'd be hard to pick a winner. If Benavidez was to fight Saunders, it'd be hard to pick a winner. It's a very evenly matched division. 4 unbeaten fighters, world champions. It's quite rare, and I think just fights between ourselves are a must for next year. And in terms of who proposed the biggest threat, I say I'm not too sure. It's just I'd like to find out. They're the fights that I do want. I do want to fight one of those 3, if not all of those 3, and I want to collect as many belts as I can. So that is the plan for 2020. I've just got to take care of my Mansory first.
I mean, just to put it out there, I'm sure you're going to say yes now, but as we've seen the cruiserweight division being done once again with a World Boxing Super Series, if the super middleweights was to be done again and there was to try to put every world champion in there, would you enter?
If it was every world champion, then yeah, because it's an easy way to, not an easy way, but it's a straightforward way guaranteeing undisputed, which I believe every fighter wants to do. If there is going to be another one and they put the four champions in, then of course it is something that I think every fighter would jump at. The chance of it happening, I'm not too sure, but listen, if I was to go and beat one of the champions and then get offered to fight with the other one, then if you've got 2 out of the 4, then you might as well go and try and achieve the 4. I don't think a Brit's ever held all 4, so it is hard to do, but it is something that is achievable in my opinion, and it is something that we'll have to see whether we can do it.
I mean, with that in mind, I know it's something that I've asked you about, and you'll see it yourself, and loads of people always mention it, your weight. Obviously, the tournament will carry on for in around a year or so. Do you feel that you'd be able to comfortably stick to super middle for a year?
Yeah, people, I've had this since about 5 years, that, listen, the weight's getting, it's not easy anymore. It used to be really easy, but listen, it's harder. I've got to be disciplined, but I do all testing. I've got a very good nutritionist, and as far as me test, I can do super middleweight and I can do it well, and as long as I can keep doing it and keep performing at it, and there's still stuff that I feel I can achieve at super middle, I'll stay here. Until that's not the case, then I'll move up to 175, and listen, I believe I'm good enough and big enough to compete and become a world champion at 175, but I just don't feel I'm ready to close the chapter on 168 just yet, while there's still fights out there for me.
I mean, how much longer do you feel you will have at 168? How much longer can you think you will maintain the weight for?
Again, I think it's not going to have another 5 fights at 168 going off all my nutritionist stuff, but it's just what I want to do at 168, and once I feel that I've cemented my place as the number 1, then I'll move up. It's not, there's no time frame on it. It's different, because if I wasn't a world champion and I was mandatory and the weight was killing me, then a lot of people stay at the weight a little bit longer just because they're in a very good position and they don't want to give it up. I've won a world title at 168, so I don't need to stay here for nothing. I'm staying here because I can do the weight and I can perform at it. Like I say, until that changes or until I feel it's taken something away from me, then no, I'll stay here.
Now, moving on from the weight and your fights, your promoter, Eddie Hearn, obviously there was a lot for a couple of months going around with regards to what was going to lie with your future. There was offers from America, there was obviously the offer from Eddie. Why exactly did you feel it took so long for you to agree for at least 1 or 2 fights, as you said to me in a previous interview, that you will be with Eddie?
Listen, it's my career, it's my livelihood, and no, I wasn't going to rush into any decision. It's no, I got a few offers, which was nice. It's nice for someone to show a bit of interest in you and say nice things about you. But I was sat down in the Matchroom and they come up with their plan for me, and I just always, boxing's a very selfish sport. I've got to do what's best for me. It's a short career, and any old promoters and trainers, they'll have as many chances after me with other fighters, whereas I get one chance. So I've got to do what's best for me, and I feel I've done that. I weighed up all my options, and the plan Matchroom out was the best one for me, and I'm happy. I always have been. I've never had a bad relationship with them. Like I say, I just had to choose the right one, and I feel I've done that.
I remember doing an interview with Joe when it was all rumbling on and the offers were being put to you and for Joe to look at. And he said that the first offer from Eddie, I don't know how many offers Eddie put to you, but the first offer wasn't anywhere near as good as the ones that you had in America. Yeah. How good were the offers from America in comparison to the one that Eddie in the end put to you?
Listen, they were all good offers. They were all, I say, each promoter has different plans and probably have different fighters which they can put in with me, and they all had something that made me sit up and take notice. But I say I had to just go with the one that made the most sense and the one that would progress me more going into next year, and it was Matchroom. There's not really much more. Like I say, there was a few offers, and they were all good in their own certain way, and that's probably why it took so long, because it was a tough decision to make, to say no to certain offers when, like I say, they were offering good money, good potential fights. It's not an easy decision, but you've always just got to go what's best for you.
Was there ever an element then during the negotiations, and when you eventually signed with Eddie, there may have been 1 or 2 better offers elsewhere, but because of what you've done with Eddie and Matchroom, you felt maybe loyalties at all? Maybe
to be honest with you, loyalty is probably did play a little bit of a part in it, but it was also, like I say, it's a short career. Sometimes loyalty's gotta go, and you've got to just do what's best for you. And overall, whether it was a loyal thing or not, I believe Matchroom was the best offer for me, and they presented me with the best plan, which I feel made the most sense.
Obviously, moving on from promoter talk, I know one thing that you are big on is that Anfield fight. Is that a realistic possibility for next year? Is that something that you've kind of maybe not necessarily demanded, but you said you want it next year before you signed your contract?
Yeah, listen, apparently it's very likely, providing you can get a big name, a big opponent to be in the other corner, and providing I come through November 23rd, I think the chance of it happening are higher than they ever have been. Now I don't want to look past November 23rd, so I've always just focused on this, but that side of it, when I speak to Eddie, they are confident that it can come off. So, like I say, come through this one, and hopefully 2020 can be a big year.
Now, I know May was touted as a possible day. You get on that way. That's all right, Callum. I know May was touted as a possible date for Anfield. Canelo always fights in May. He's fighting Kovalev in around the same time that you faced John Ryder. Is it a name like Canelo, a Golovkin that you need that would actually sell the stadium out?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so, because listen, I'm not going to sell thousands of tickets, me against no one. I'm not deluded. It does need a big name in the other corner. I think Canelo would be a tough one. I think if the Canelo fight comes, it would be Vegas or America at some point. But Golovkin is a potential opponent. He's a huge name, one of the other champions. There is a lot of other big names that would be where the opponents. I think the Canelo one would have to be Vegas. But listen, if it was Anfield against someone like Vegas, Canelo would be a tough decision.
What would you prefer, Vegas against Canelo or Anfield against?
Vegas against Canelo, I think. We'll wait till next May to try and get Anfield, but I just want a big fight. I think the pressure's on Eddie to deliver a big one for me. If they want to do the Anfield one, which that's good news for me. He's got to go and deliver for me, and I say they're the fights that I want.
I know I have said that we'll move on from a promoter talk, but my last thing on it, Eddie said to me that he's never actually had you on like a long-term contract, only ever been like a fight-by-fight deal. Yeah. Why is it that you yourself haven't decided to sign on a long-term deal, especially maybe at the beginning of your career?
It's always just been, I remember when I very first sat down with Eddie, basically said we won't tie you into a 2-year, 3-year, whatever deal. if I could leave whenever I wanted, but if they do the job they feel they could, I'd never want to leave. And to be fair to them, that was the case. They done a great job. They kept me active. They got me the right fights, and I was always a happy fighter. So why would I leave and jump ship when everything was going so good? So listen, there's pros and cons for both. I could leave them at any point, but no, I'm not tied into where if I was to lose a couple of fights on the run, they'd still have to provide me with fights when I was no use to them. So it's a risk for both, but we've always had that good relationship where, providing they do the job, which they have been doing, I'll never want to leave.
Just to move away from yourself now, Callum, I just want to talk about Anthony Crolla. His last bout coming up in just over a week. What's it been like being in amongst Anthony, knowing this is his final camp?
It's been good. We were laughing down there before. I don't know whether the pressure's off him and he's enjoying it because it's his last one, but he's looked better in this camp than he has for years, to be honest with you, and there's probably more left in the tank for him, but he's got that outlook with boxing's a tough sport. It's a very unforgiving sport, and he's been in some very hard fights, and it's good to get out before rather than too late. So he's had a very good career and one that a lot of fights to be proud of, and I'm sure he's happy and content with what he has achieved, and he's a big part of the gym. He's a big character in the gym, and he will be a big miss, but knowing Anthony, I know he won't be too far from the gym. I think he'll be in here quite a lot.
I remember speaking to Joe, and he says that everybody who's in his current stable, he kind of, when everybody moves towards retirement, that's kind of it for him himself as a trainer as well, because he'd like to see you all make your money and get out as quickly as possible, especially when we have the tragedies such as Patrick Day the other week. Is that how you guys see it as well? You just want to kind of just get your money, set your families up, and just secure your futures before anything, touch wood, does happen?
Yeah, listen, obviously, the risks, and obviously when you see, the likes of, the recent incidents we've seen, you do question why would you do it longer than you need to, and as long as you can get the fight you want, earn the money you want, and obviously win whatever you feel you're capable of winning, then be happy and content, and get out while you can. Why stay and chase something that's probably not there? And as cheesy and as cringy as it sounds, you do put your health and your life at risk every time you get in the ring, as we've seen. So I say, you get fighters who stay in and fight for years and years and years, and hats off to them. I just like to think that wouldn't be me, as long as I've achieved what I feel, and I'm not left wanting something. Then I'd like to get out, not pretty soon, but earlier rather than late. I say, as long as the team around me can deliver the fight that I need in whatever space of time, then I'll have nothing left to achieve.
What do you feel the longest is that you'll be left in boxing? If you had the absolute maximum amount of years left, what would you say it is, and what's the shortest?
I don't know. The shortest, obviously, there's obviously stuff I want to achieve. Otherwise, I'd have retired after George Groves. There is stuff I do feel I'm capable of doing, and I wouldn't want to retire and not know how good I was and sit and wonder. I wonder if I could have done more. I wonder if I could have unified. So I need to get rid of that first and know if I am good enough to do it. But once I've done that, I say, and maybe have a go at try and be a 2-weight world champion, then I'll be happy. And as long as I can retire and know my level and know how good I was, and whether I fight a Canelo and I get well beat, then I'll know I was world level. I probably wasn't elite level, but as long as I can know and be satisfied, then I say there's no time limit. If I could have all them fights within a year, I'd retire after a year. If they take 3-4 years to come, then it takes 3-4 years, but there's no time limit. But I say I just like to get out with not too many miles on the clock.
And just to move away from Gallagher's gym onto a few other things I just wanted to get your opinions on. We mentioned World Boxing Super Series earlier. The final this weekend, Regis Prograis, Josh Taylor. How do you see it playing out, Callum?
Tough one. It's a great fight, to be honest with you. It's a very, very good fight, and it's easier saying it now, but I think it was the final most predicted. They are the two best in the division. I don't know. I think Taylor's probably the better fighter. He's a lot bigger. He's got a good engine. Probably a little bit too busy for him. I think he wins or is winning. I just don't know. I think Prograis looks very, very heavy-handed, and I don't know if Taylor's a little bit tight at the weight. I'm not too sure. But I don't know what makes it interesting. I think Taylor wins or is winning, and I don't know if Prograis could catch him and hurt him, and there might be a few sticky moments, but I think Taylor points is a good bet. But it's a very, very, very good fight. It's an interesting fight, and number 1 and 2 in the division, very rare, and as a boxing fan, it's a fight that I'm looking forward to.
I mean, on that undercard as well, Derek Chisora versus David Price. David Price, someone you know very well from Liverpool. What are your thoughts on that one?
Again, another good fight, another interesting one. Two very likeable characters. Two of the good men in boxing, and every week boxing, it's exciting. They're both on a good run of form. They're both on a few good wins, and in the heavyweight division now, you can sting a few good wins together. Then you walk into a big fight. So the winner of this one puts himself further up the line, up the pecking order, and it's an interesting one. Does Chisora get on his chest and just wipe him out, or does Pricey outbox him and walk him onto one? We've seen Chisora was always known for being very, very tough and going to points with Vitaly Klitschko and stuff like that, and then you've seen Dillian White knock him out, so is he starting to show a bit of wear and tear? And obviously Pricey had his losses, so they've both shown vulnerabilities, and they've both shown they can knock people out, so it's an exciting fight.
Last couple of quick things I just want to touch on before I do let you shoot off. Tyson Fury having a little stint in the WWE now. What are your thoughts on that, Callum?
It's good on him. It takes a certain character to do it. I don't think I could do it, but I think he's made for it, to be honest with you. And listen, if he's out injured with a cut and he can make stupid money doing that, then as a business sense, and even just as a profile sense, his name's probably bigger now than it ever has been. So listen, that's off to him. I think there's a lot of fighters, or a lot of just general people who jump in his position if they could.
Just one thing that I've just picked up on there, I just want to touch on. I always see, I don't always, but I see it every now and then over social media, on videos online. Some people say that you're not necessarily that big mouth, that profile basically. You don't kind of put yourself out there enough. Do you feel that yourself, or is it just a matter of people just don't understand that you're just like effectively just a nice guy?
Yeah, I'm just quiet. I'm not going to put something out there for the sake of putting something out there to make headlines, and I've always felt that I'm good enough and people want to see me fight because I can fight, not because I'm funny on Instagram or I can do this at a press conference. It probably arms me in a certain way, as in my profile probably isn't as big as other fighters who probably aren't as good as me, but I've always just had the belief if I'm good enough I get there, and if I get there then the money will be there as well at the same time. And so far it has been. I'm not just going to start, like I say, doing stuff that'll be completely out of character just to please other people. So it's one of them. It takes a certain person to do a certain type of thing, and it just never has been me. And I say it probably has harmed me in terms of profile, but I'm a little bit too far into my career now to change and start becoming something that I'm clearly not. If I was done it from my debut, then it's probably the norm. But I've come this far being quiet. I can't just start. Might get someone to take over my Twitter and just start banging all over Twitter and calling people out. But yeah, it's just me. It's just, even outside the gym, we're four brothers. I'm the quiet one. I'm the laid back one, and it always has been me, and I don't think it's going to change.
My last question. We mentioned health earlier. One thing that's kind of divided opinion: Nigel Benn's return. Yeah. What are your thoughts on Nigel's decision to return to the ring?
Listen, Nigel Benn, I like him as a person. I've met him a few times, and as a fighter, he was a phenomenal fighter. It's just, I don't know what he needs to prove, or what financially. I don't think he needs the money. I don't know. It's a bit like what I touched on before, where I think fighters retire and they're happy and content and satisfied with what they've achieved. He obviously isn't, so he probably needs to come back to do something. But is he 51? Is he or something?
53.
54. Yeah, I don't know. I just think there's no place in a professional boxing ring. Listen, if he wants to come back and I'll do a charity fight or something like that, then good on him. But a proper professional boxing fight, I just think it's a little bit, I don't know. But listen, it's his life, his career. I'm not knocking him. Good luck to him. I wish him all the best. I just think he's done enough in his career to warrant his reputation, where I don't think he needs to prove anything to anyone.
I mean, what do you make of Sakio Bika as an opponent as well? Someone who's fought Andre Ward, Joe Calzaghe, he's been in there with the best, former world champion himself, only recently retired within the last couple of years. Yeah. What do you make of him as an opponent?
He's tough, to be honest with you. Even when he was fighting in his prime, he was known as being very, very tough. And again, he's not young and fresh, so he's obviously a little bit old himself, but he's not long retired, so there's probably a lot more left in the tank than Nigel Benn. I don't know. It's an interesting one. It's the same night as me, isn't it? Yeah. 23rd, yeah. I probably wouldn't even be able to watch it, to be honest with you. But it's I don't know. It's just a strange one. Like I said, if he was to come back and do a charity fight or something, I think a lot of people would be praising him. I just think the fact that he's having a proper fight again is a bit. I don't feel he needs to prove anything. Like I say, he was a great fighter who achieved a lot. I don't feel he needs to tarnish his reputation.
Before I do let you shoot off, how's fatherhood treating you now? I think your daughter must be getting close to a year old or something now.
Yeah, she's 9-10 months, coming up to 10 months. She's good. She's crawling everywhere. She's in nursery now. My missus back at work, so it's good. It's enjoyable. I'm on the school when I go to nursery and then come to the gym, so life's a little bit harder. But yeah, listen, it gets better every day. She's great. She's good.
Well, I'll make sure we end the interview here so we don't, as you're not lately picking up your little girl. But Callum Smith, as always, it's a pleasure. I appreciate you hanging around, and thanks for speaking to myself on Boxing Social.
So mate, see you in a bit.